story number 3, NSG story number 3. Okay, welcome to Basics, Floorball Basics, NSG stories that I'm going to talk about. If you haven't seen the first and second story, do check in down the links below. But basically, I share about stories of what I've experienced before in the past NSG or probably even the recent times. This time around, I thought the story will be a little bit more different, probably a little bit more light-hearted. The last story, if you have seen story number 2, that's something that I don't like to experience. But nonetheless, in this story, they will go out in a bit of parts. I'll try to find a bit of space to talk about this and describe. But these are much more funnier ones. Something that even I think more than 10 years ago, I can even still remember now, and I'll start off with that. Let's go. Okay, the first one, I probably use these two benches as a description. Now, you know, usually when you play against your opponent, right, you'll be at one side of the bench, and then this, like say, the field of play, and then let's say your opponent's on the other side. Right, so then naturally, the coaches will be usually with the teams and whatnot. But what happens is, right, there was this, I think, period break. Okay, period break. And what happens is I was like standing, this is basically my team space. Okay, then the toilet is like towards that direction. But what happens, the coach, probably he went to the toilet or something like that. He went out, and by the time he went in, the game has started already. So I obviously was with my girls or with my team over here, and I'm like detecting and looking at the game, blah 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 blah. But for him, right, he came, walked past our bench, the game started, the bench is over there. He stood literally like 2 meters, 2 meters in the middle of nowhere, and he was like already directing traffic. Sorry, excuse me. But my main point is this: back then, when I was a young coach, I could not shout. My voice projection is not as loud. He is like, holy, he's like goddamn loud. And he was like standing in the middle, so near me, and me over here. I was just like looking at him. I'm like, well, what in the blue world you're doing? You should like just take a few more steps away and head to the bench, right? But that was what he was exactly doing. So I was distracted. My girls were distracted. It's just something that was totally memorable for me. And that happened years ago. Okay, now back to the bench. Usually, if you are a substitute, if you do not get to say play the game, or let's say even if you are resting, you know, and then usually we'll get hold of sticks. Obviously, I don't have my stick right now, but I'm just trying to show and mimic. So I'm just sitting on a bench, or rather, my friend was sitting on a bench. I was just very closely beside him, and again, this happened more than a decade ago. And by this, it's not really an NSG game per se, but it's more of a uni game, a league match. So we were a uni team. So he was just like waiting, seeing, looking at the game, and what happens is we actually scored a goal. And when we scored the goal, usually, you know, you probably like stand up, you know, go and high five your teammates or whatsoever. But I have no freaking idea why he did this. He was holding on his stick. He was so excited or enthusiastic or whatsoever. So we scored the goal. He was like, yeah, we scored the goal. And he literally lifted up his stick high up, and he started banging onto the boards. So, you know, sometimes people are very excited, and then they'll like, you know, make some sound and whatnot. So I think he was trying to do that. So he was like, bah, you know, like doing some samurai slashes or whatsoever against the board. After one time, two time, and then he lifts up. What happens is the whole stick literally broke into half in front of him, in front of me, and he was totally stunned. People beside him, after a few seconds, realized it, and everyone just started to laugh at him as the game was still going on. And so therefore, that was, I think, one of the most memorable way or silliest way to actually break your own stick, which is through celebrating a goal. So please don't do that, okay? Please don't do that. Okay, I'm just gonna move away. I'm just gonna move and talk at this moment in time, because there was another guy, some stranger, started smoking. I hate the smoke. So I'm just gonna talk about a bit on bench management. And one of, I think, the most memorable way that I bench a player, and it actually worked wonders on her.